Thank you for your interest in the STANLEY PG60 battery profile grinder. This video will review setup and operation procedures. Begin by having two people lift the PG60 onto the rail utilizing the carry handles. Once the grinder is on the rail, have one person stabilize the PG60 while the other person raises one end of the grinder and swivels the pivot block assembly to the position needed for use. To position the swivel pivot block assembly, first, lift the end of PG60. Next, pull the detent in the center of the block assembly and twist 1/4 turn. This will disengage the lock and allow the pivot block assembly to rotate to the position required for use. The pivot block adjusts to multiple positions for optimal performance. Once the pivot block assembly is in the desired position, twist the detent to the original position and lock the detent back in place to hold the positioning. Lastly, ensure the roller and positioning tab are properly set on the rail. Repeat the process for the other side of the PG60. If needed, the tension on the grindstone height adjustment wheel can be modified. To adjust the tension, locate the nut at the base of the height adjustment wheel. Loosen the nut and place a hex key in the center of the nut. Turn the hex key to adjust the tension. Once it is at the desired tension, and with the hex key still in the center of the nut, tighten until it is no longer loose. Use the stone height adjustment wheel to raise the grinding stone to be completely clear of the rail. Check the charge on each battery before placing in the tool. Check the battery box terminals and batteries for any contamination, debris, or corrosion. Place batteries in battery boxes and latch each lid. Press down on the safety interlock until it touches the trigger bar. Squeeze the trigger bar until the PG60 starts. Safety interlock must be engaged to run the tool. Trigger bar cannot be squeezed without the safety interlock engagement. Use the stone height adjustment wheel and adjust grindstone until it touches the rail. Once the trigger bar is engaged, the safety interlock can be released and the grinder will still run. If the trigger bar is released, the PG60 will stop and the safety interlock will need to be re-engaged to start the grinder again. When grinding the side of the rail, start with the PG60 off and release the over-center clamp. This will allow the main frame assembly to swivel down to the side of the rail, but the handle will remain at an elevated position. To grind the opposite side of the rail, set the PG60 back in its original upright position. Lift the grinder off the rail and turn 180 degrees. Reposition the grinder using the over-center clamp and grindstone adjustment wheel to grind the other side. Do not use the positioning tab on the operator's side of the PG60 as a measure to grind the opposite side. The positioning tab is not intended to stabilize the grinder on the rail. When grind is complete, reset the grinder to the upright position and lock the over-center clamp. Remove the batteries and lock battery boxes before moving the PG60 to the next grind location and/or to storage. For maintenance or to change the grindstone, confirm the batteries have been removed from the PG60. Adjust grindstone height to the lowest setting, all the way out. Lay the PG60 on its side. Press the shaft lock button and hold it down to lock the shaft in place. Twist the stone by hand until the shaft lock button locks into place. Ensure the shaft lock is engaged, then use the stone wrench to loosen the grindstone. Once loose, continue to twist by hand until it can be removed from the PG60. To replace the stone, place a new stone on the shaft and twist it until it locks into place. The stone will self-seat onto the shaft when tightened. The stone wrench can also be used to tighten stone onto shaft.